Daily fantasy sports companies are out of luck in New York. The Attorney General has demanded that the two largest operators, DraftKings and FanDuel, stop taking bets in the state because he considers them illegal gambling operations. Dominic Chu has more on the latest setback for this fast-growing industry.
Daily fantasy sports. Is it or isn't it gambling? Well, the New York Attorney General says it is gambling and of the illegal variety, and that their business violates the law. And this is the most important development in the debate over fantasy sports to date for one important reason.
The state of New York is critical to both FanDuel and DraftKings. Not only is it 10% approximately of their overall business, but in addition to that, again, New York is the hub of finance in America, in the world.
A central part of the raging debate over daily fantasy sports is whether or not it's a game of skill or just wagering on an eventual outcome. Supporters of daily fantasy sports argue that there is research and strategy that's involved in creating portfolios or lineups of players to compete against others. Opponents say that these are short-term exercises designed to cater to instant gratification of winning money, and that they're different than traditional fantasy sports that require hours of preparation and weeks of commitment. Now, regardless of the view, everyone is trying to figure out how to deal with emerging product companies like FanDuel or DraftKings. DraftKings board member Hani Nada sees the challenges that lie ahead.
Startups are disrupting the world, right? I mean, you're seeing it in Alibaba, you're seeing it with Amazon. Startups are disrupting the world. And many companies are running into these issues, whether it's Airbnb or Uber, have very similar issues that we're dealing with. The traditional infrastructure is ill-equipped to handle these startups, and I think this is just one aspect of that.
New York becomes the sixth state to demand a ban on daily fantasy wagers. So, how do New Yorkers feel about the ban on these daily fantasy sports sites?
Those guys are taking some leadership on this and kind of getting ahead of the curve and maybe try to save some people from getting into trouble.
I honestly don't see anything wrong with it.
I think it's skills. There's a lot of data and analytics and statistics that go involved in that. It's not like it's not betting horses.
The next chapter of this story involves what promises to be a lengthy legal battle between site operators like FanDuel and DraftKings against state governments. Should they be regulated like the lottery, horse racing, or even casino gaming? Ultimately, though, it may come down to just money and whether the state's ability to regulate and tax daily fantasy sports opens up the door for play to resume. For a Nightly Business Report, I'm Dominic Chu.